If there weren't a direct relationship between history and money, power, rulership, and domination, then why did the European rewrite history?
Ooh.
You don't have to try to force education on children. They understand that education came from them. They understand that science came from them. Technology came from them. Engineering came from them. Mathematics came from them. These are our disciplines. When a child has that understanding, that belief, that confidence, that courage, you can't stop them. And everything starts with slavery. Your whole existence started with slavery. We still allow people to use that narrative about us on this planet. And it's like, stop it. Who starts a book in the middle? Who starts a movie in the middle? What Europeans started their story in the middle? Nobody does this. Why do we continue to allow this? It's a great business lesson for you. It's easier to double your money by selling the same people more stuff than it is to go out and find double the people to buy your stuff, right?
Fire.
But what I tell my audience is I love them because they allow me to be free. They say, man, I love the way you talk. I love it. It's all because you support me directly. But now I understand you got to invest at the level of your expectations. How much you trying to do? You know what I mean? What you trying to do? What type of impact you trying to have? So sometimes you just got to go cut the check to get in the room. And then while you in the room, you make way more money than you.
You are now part of a social experiment.
See now where my limit is. Only got no.
Thank you for joining us today on the journey towards self-mastery. Our next guest is the award-winning founder of Urban Intellectuals, which aims to rewrite the narrative of Black culture and history and make Black history fun and easy through their flashcards, trivia games, playing cards, puzzles, calendars, merch, and Black history trips to Africa. Urban Intellectuals has sold over 400,000 flashcards and is one of the 8% of businesses in the country making over 7 figures a year. Urban Intellectuals has been featured in major media outlets like Essence, HuffPost, CBS Chicago, Time, Good Morning Washington, Milwaukee PBS, and ABC News Live. In 2018 and 19, Urban Intellectuals collaborated with JetBlue to feature the flashcards in the JFK and Newark airports during Black History Month, further amplifying their message of Black history education. Let's welcome today the founder of Urban Intellectuals, Mr. Freddie Taylor, to the program.
I appreciate it.
Taylor, appreciate you, man. Honor having you on the program. I was just discussing with you, man, like before we came on live, man, that I was looking at Urban Intellectuals for years and years, man, getting your promotions and everything, man. I think the algorithm was just feeding me, man, and feeding me into Urban Intellectuals, man. And I didn't even know who the owner was. I just kept seeing the flashcards, man, until I finally got me some, man, that I started, doing with my daughter and everything. So definitely having a full circle moment, talking to you, man, because at some point I'm like, I might as well see who this dude is, man. Like,
Yeah, thank you, brother. Well, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you grabbing the flashcards, and I'm glad the algorithm started feeding you us, and it linked to us getting together. So I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. It's I don't know if it's me, man. Maybe this is the stuff I look at all the time. Like I feel like every time I'm on social media, Facebook, whatever it is, like if I scroll, I'm like looking at Urban Intellectuals a few times before that day is over.
Well, we were talking. I guess I'll save it a bit for the conversation. But you seeing us. You talked about that 8% of businesses that reach that mark. That's why we hit that mark, right? Like we spend money.
It's not by accident.
Not accident. It's not an accident.
Yeah. That's interesting. We're definitely gonna get to that because I feel like you definitely have gems. I think a lot of Black businesses need, including myself, of course. But a lot of us are like first generation trying to make this work and figure it out. Like dad wasn't in business, grandpa wasn't in business. We didn't have this thing passed through. So I think for Black folks, I mentioned 8% in the beginning. For Black folks, I think it's even more of a struggle because we don't have, we're learning everything on the go almost, you know what I mean? We don't have people to go to in the family that can walk us through the business lines. So definitely want to, pick your brain about that. But, you are into the whole Black history thing. And I make a point of asking, our historians and people into history that come on the program, what exactly Black history means to them, because history means different things, I think, to different people. So in your view, like, what exactly is the purpose of history? What does it mean? And how do you think it serves the Black community? I know people that think well, this happened, 10,000 years ago. Like, what it got to do with me? Like, how's it going to help me? So what are your thoughts on that?
One, I could say that growing up in this system, I totally feel that point of view. I understand, right? And I understand because I was that person. I used to be that person. I was introduced to Black history from my father, right? I know we might talk a little bit about that, but that's who gave me my passionate understanding of Black history. But the story ain't what you think it is, right? It ain't like, he poured into his young Black son and he caught the importance of Black history. No, I was that person saying that happened way back then. It don't matter today. None of that applies, right? It wasn't until I matured and started to understand some things that I understand the purpose and the passion of history, right? In fact, let me read something to you, right? Quick quote from Amos Wilson, right? If you're not familiar with Amos Wilson, good audience, listen, you're welcome, right? Do some Googling, right? You're welcome. Let me introduce you to one of the master teachers. But he got a quote that said, if there weren't a direct relationship between history and money, power, rulership, and domination, then why did the European rewrite history?
Ooh.
That's a killer. And for me, that is it. Because you don't understand the connection doesn't mean there isn't a connection. And you want some proof in the pudding? Why is everybody on this planet trying to not let you figure out who you've been and the benefits you've been to humanity on this planet? Why are they? I mean, it is like they are actively lying, whitewashing, sanitizing, changing, outright lie, cover up, and worse, and murder, right? To keep this information away from you. If it wasn't a direct relationship between money, power, dominance, rulership, and everything between what we're going through in history, nobody would be going through that. So that's what it means to me. It means this is imperative that we get this not only in ourselves, but in our young people. Because it changes your perspective, right? So just coming back and giving an actual answer, it really changes your viewpoint of the world, how you see what's going on around you, how you understand, how you take in information, how you synthesize information of what you check it against, right? It gives you perspective. It is everything, right? Yeah, I could go, boy. You don't.
Yes, sir. Now, I agree with that. What you just said kind of made me think about this whole fight for CRT, AP Black History, and all these things that, white folks are like, nah, we're not over here. You know what I'm saying? So there has to be something to that. Why it's consistently a no-go when it comes to having it in public education. I think that it definitely history has to be somewhat valuable if they fight to the death for that,
Yeah, it's invaluable because I know what's in it. I know what's in it. If little Black girls and little Black boys grew up with this understanding, everything would change because you don't have to try to force education on children. They understand that education came from them. They understand that science came from them. Technology came from them. Engineering came from them. Mathematics came from them. These are our disciplines. When a child has that understanding, that belief, that confidence, that courage, you can't stop them. But that's why everything's been flip-flopped. That's why it's been changed. And that's why we really got to get out of this. Malcolm said it 60 plus years ago, right? Why you letting the people that's destroying you educate your children? They probably ain't got your best interests at heart. I know they ain't throwing you over the tree no more in open public. They are gunning you down and judicially doing the same thing. But yeah, they're not throwing you over the tree no more and hanging you and calling you the N-word in your face and all of that. But what's really changed? All right, brother.
You're right.
Yeah, we go.
No, yeah.
It's gonna be good. Yeah. We're gonna have to try to keep you on the rope here today.
Hey, listen, man. You might not even need me for this interview, man. I might just let you do it on your own.
Yeah, give
But
me some guide rails. I'm ready to go. I'm ready
yes,
to go.
sir. Yes, sir. So I really, before we dive into urban intellectuals, I wanted to know like what that origin story was. And I know you mentioned you grew up with parents that were a little bit older than typical parents that had a huge, influence on you. And your father was talking to you about his history and just history in general. So I wanted to know, just growing up, what gems you were picking up like at home from your pop, and then like what happened in the school system for you, like personally, like when you went to school, what was Black History Month like? Like what was going on when, was it ever brought up? Like what was that whole process for you growing up?
Yeah, let me take y'all way back, man, to the 1900s, as my children say, like the 1900s. Let me take you back to the 1900s. But growing up with my dad, I was born in '76, and Dad was 46. So not only he's 95 today. I can't wait to see my man next week. We're gonna hang out and have some good times. But it was real different because every time I go outside or come up to the school or whatnot, everybody think that my parents are my grandparents. My mom was 40 when I was born. So they'd be like, "Oh, your grandparents?" I'm like, what? That's my mama. But I learned that because he was older, he had retired. He retired in '85, right? He always laughed because he said every time they have to cut that retirement check, they swear somebody lying about something, man. The Black man been retired for 40 years. Like that don't make no sense, man. But but he loved Black history. So he was always pushing it on me. And like I was mentioned earlier, like I wasn't really interested. I fell victim of the educational system that I was in that didn't inspire with Black history and culture, right? Or it's even bigger. See, it's in the school system is bigger than just history, right? In the school system is really context, because the things that you're learning, nobody is telling you that Black and African people are behind, involved, doing anything with it. So anytime you see any type of example, it looked like somebody that don't look like you. So it's not inspiring. And then when you get into the social context and what's going on the continent, in the country, or even in history, everything is through the lens of white people or European eyes, right? I always say in the school system, they put them glasses on you and they get you to see the world from a European perspective. And that's something that I picked up and was like running with, which is why I was like shunning this importance of history. I'm a child, right? What do you know, right? You don't know anything. But Dad was persistent to the point where he started paying me $10 a chapter to read in certain Black history books. And if I had a conversation with him about it, I would that's how I got my little come up money, right? All I had to do was read, right? So I read these things and start having these discussions. And even though I'm reading it, I'm still not embracing it. It wasn't until later that I started to embrace it, but Dad was sliding those seeds and those gems in me. And like one particular read I just remember out of the chapter books was Nat Turner. And that really resonated with me because that's the essence. That's that warrior spirit that was touched in me, and it's still alive. And I believe like that's a real important point. We'll come back to it later. I think you got some questions for that, but
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's very powerful, man. So you weren't learning anything. You mentioned like actual school, but you were learning it at home with your pops. Was it like, I don't know what type of school you went to? Like, was it predominantly Black, or were your teachers predominantly white? Like, what was happening in your school system?
I went to a mixed school system from basically K through 8. And then my parents put me in an all white, all male Catholic high school, private school, right? And okay. So I lived in the ghetto with Black folks. We got bused to schools that was like an intermixed schools for K through 8. Then I went to an all white, all male Catholic high school, right? Talk about experiences, right? Coming back across the tracks, right? And all of that good stuff. But so all of them were like vastly different. All of them were similar in that they wasn't teaching no history and culture that was inspiring. There's no context where Black and African people are elevated in any of them. And they were all centered really around slavery and the same 8 to 12 Black folks that you talked about every single year, right? If the audience started commenting, I bet you could come up with the 8 to 12 black folks that I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
You probably got the same experience, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks. Who else we got? Sometimes
Thurgood
Malcolm X.
Marshall.
Thurgood Marshall.
Yeah, Harriet Tubman.
Harriet Tubman. Yep.
Rosa Parks. Yeah, I mean, I know they can rattle them all. It's a Benjamin Banneker. No, you don't get. Sometimes you get Benjamin Banneker. Frederick Douglass. You get Frederick Douglass. W.B. Du Bois. Yeah, maybe Booker T. Yeah, you get Booker T. You get Booker T. A couple of other folks, right? But it's the same conversation. And I just remember getting to the point. It's like, we ain't never gonna talk about nothing else. And then everything starts with slavery. Your whole existence started with slavery. We still allow people to use that narrative about us on this planet. And it's like, stop it. Who starts a book in the middle? Who starts a movie in the middle? What Europeans started their story in the middle? Nobody does this. Why do we continue to allow this? Marcus Garvey talked about being truncated from your history, right? It's like a tree with no roots. Why do we keep feeding? We keep feeding into it, right? You go into, I used to mentor in the schools, right? You go in there, they're feeding the same narrative.
But your narrative changed a little bit when you went to college, right?
Yeah.
In regards to what it is that you were learning. What was different about the college experience for you?
What was different was peers that were interested in different things, right? Like I got introduced to the 5 percenters. I don't know if your audience familiar with the 5. Y'all on the East Coast. I know the 5 percenters, right?
Yes, sir.
So I got introduced to them, and I got introduced to brothers and sisters from the Nation of Islam. I got introduced to the gang community in Chicago that was really about growth and development, right? Instead of Gangster Disciple, the GD, the downward version of it, right? Like I got introduced to people who grew up with parents that were Panthers. So just a lot of different conversations. And then mix that with, I got educated on how to research, right? I feel like in my college experience, that was probably my greatest gift. I don't really feel like, I got learn these formulas and all, and all of that stuff, right? But I feel like I learned how to research. I got my MBA, so that's like really where it came from. But it's like this moment, it's like this crazy moment in your life where you're around all these different people and they're exposing you to things that you probably hadn't thought about before. And it really put a lot in perspective for me. And then just to I think I know where you're going with the next question is, being in class and that lens of seeing everything with them glasses on and one day realizing it, one day being like, why everybody white? Why everybody don't look like me? All these class, philosophy, didn't matter what class I took. Everything was a different lens. And I'm like, well, why are we represented? Where are we at? And it was just this consciousness that started to come about. And let me let you ask the next question. I'll at least let you.
Yes, sir. So I know you were working on an assignment in your economics class where your professor recommended that you look at a certain time period in history that you mentioned inspired you. So you could talk about that. And then transitioning into wanting to, what really made you want you to get that information out. You were passing around stuff around campus and getting information out to people. That was really the start of, I think, the person that we're looking at today. So what really inspired you not only to just learn about that time frame, but to want other people to have that information?
Yeah, it's crazy because the more I'm listening to you talking, I'm just thinking about it deeper and deeper. So I had just graduated undergrad. I went to school on a football scholarship, right? So I went to school for free, which was dope. I got my undergraduate degree in marketing. And I stayed and went to grad school and I got my MBA, right? So I'm in my master's in business administration. I'm really starting to read and expand myself at this point, right? And I had I remember finishing Naeem Akbar's book, Breaking the Psychological Chains of Slavery, right? And that book was that was probably like a wake-up moment. So now those things that I was kind of feeling about having those glasses on, Naeem kind of just made me pierce the veil and it just woke me up, right? And so now I go into this history economics course. I think it's the best course I've ever taken in my life. And this white professor tells me that, hey, we about to write this, 35-page paper, blah, blah, blah. You should do it on Black Wall Street. And I was like, what's Black Wall Street? Because this is 1999. The internet's 5 years old. Google's one, by the way. And it ain't working like it did, right? Right? And yeah, Black Wall Street, man. I do the research. I write the paper, and I'm blown away. Like, most people know the story now. 600 Black businesses in the area of Tulsa, Oklahoma. We don't really pay homage to this brother right here, O.W. Gurley. Can't quite see him.
Yeah, let's see that.
Yeah, O.W. Gurley. This is the gentleman that had the 40 acres in Tulsa. He bought the 40 acres. He didn't get it. Bought the 40 acres, and then he's the one that started parceling out the land to create the area that's known as Black Wall Street. O.W. Gurley. I love that piece of history. I love that business acumen of that young man there. But, it goes on to prosper for almost 20 years. Some jealousy hit the air and they blow it up, right? And, and we get that history. And now we know that there were maybe hundreds of Black Wall Streets all around the country, right? It wasn't just one place, but we have this conversation, the epicenter, right? It's what we understand. So I'm blown away. I'm 22 years old or something like that. I'm on fire about that. I can't believe it. And I start thinking, what else don't I know? And, of course, I'm talking to people and they like, man, you really fired up about this, right? But that's how I ended up going to the library and creating what I call Black History Profiles and passing them out around campus, charging $25 to recoup my print costs. I guess I was my early form of understanding product marketing. It kind of ballooned from there, or at least my interest ballooned from there.
Yeah, that is interesting. What were the interests of the people that you were feeding this information to in college? Like, were they interested in it?
Yeah. I can't say it was 100% of people, but the people who gave me their quarter were, right. Like they were fired up. They would like it because then the week before they were like, man, I learned so much with that. Like, oh, what you got this week? Like, bang. So here we go. Repeat customers. Here's a great business lesson for you. It's easier to double your money by selling the same people more stuff than it is to go out and find double the people to buy your stuff, right?
Fire. That's a fire lesson right there. A lot of people don't know about that, man. Beautiful. So you actually kind of took a hiatus from that and got into real estate and some other stuff afterwards. What brought you back into the Black history?
It never really went away. It was them pesky kids, and you had to go make some money and take care of them. I got married, and I got married when my wife moved away from the college town. We already had one baby, had another baby. It's amazing what you got to do when you got to feed them miles.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I never really wanted to stop. I just, I didn't know how to make money out of that space. To me, it was just like a passion project. Because I didn't really think that you can make a living talking about Black history, right? Like, who does that, right? Where does that come from? So, so I had a myriad of other businesses leading up to the resurgence of urban intellectuals. And, a good business lesson. Well, good business story ain't even a thing no more. So in 2004, I bought the domain urbanintellectuals.com. And I just bought it because I was starting to build sites. There's a whole story. There's a whole entrepreneurial story behind all this. But I owned a real estate appraisal company, right? Now, the short story of that is I needed a website and couldn't afford to pay nobody. So I went to the public library and got the book and I taught myself, right? Because again, research was the thing that I got from college, right? I understand how to put information together. So I just built me a site, right? And then 2004, I was like on there. I had to buy the domain for Appraisals by Taylor. That was my real estate appraisal company name. I should go back and try to buy that domain. So I just buy Urban Intellectuals. I was like, I'm going to do something with it. And if you go back on the Wayback Machine, you can see the old iterations of it. It's wild to see the 2004 stuff. But 2005, I lost it. I didn't know you had to renew the domain. I thought you bought it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You don't know what you don't know. So I lost the domain, so it was gone. So, I was just kind of floating. Then, I was in real estate. I did some stuff. I built a magazine, Investment Passion called that. And then, the stock market crash, the housing bubble and all of that. And I'm like, man, this stuff is crazy. Yeah. Then 2009, I decided to quit my appraisal company, right? Because it was just like super stressful time to be a business owner, to be in that market, in that business. And I remember talking to my wife and I was like, I think I'm going to quit. And she was like, quit. And I'm like, what am I going to do? She was like, you'll figure it out. And I'm
You had
like,
money stacked up? You had something lined up, or just
not really.
out the blue?
Nah,
Not really.
Not really. She had a little something but she ended up getting laid off. You know, it was just like, not really though. So it wasn't. We ain't had no real cushion. I had to sell like my stock portfolio. Man, that hurt. I was in Netflix deep at $7 a share in 2007, brother. Like it was.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to sell at 18. Broke my heart, man, because I don't know if y'all in stocks, y'all feel my yeah.
That's tough.
No, it was tough. So it was tough times. So, but she's always like been super supportive and behind me. She's like, you'll figure it out. So in 2009, I quit, and I remember sitting in this room. My office was set up a little different, and I was like sitting there one day. I was like, man, I feel good. And I couldn't figure out why I felt so good. She said, you ain't stressed. Banks ain't calling. They ain't looking for their work, and all of that. Man, that was like the first time I felt good. I got online in 2009 and I rebought urbanintellectuals.com. It was available. Whoever was sitting on it, like, let it go. I was like, you'll never see this again. I learned that lesson, right? Yeah.
So with the Urban Intellectuals, your first product is the Flashcards. What exactly went into the idea of the Flashcards for you? Because I would feel like around that time, most people would want to do like an app or something digital or whatever. Like, but you have, which I got right here, Urban Intellectual Flashcards. So you had Flashcards, man. What exactly went into that in regards to you wanting to do Flashcards instead of having something computer based or app based?
Yeah, I think the like super dope entrepreneurial answer would be the same thing answer. I'm a contrarian, I just, when the people zig, I like to zag. Like that would have been the super dope thing if that was true, right? If like I had that type of foresight. But back in 2011, a friend of mine told me, because I was building the Urban Intellectuals like Facebook group or page, right? Like I'm doing what I do. If you follow me, anybody that follows me, I ask a lot of provocative questions, right? Not provocative in that sense, in thought-worthy, inspiring, right? In that sense, right? I try to make people think. That's one of my theses on life, right? I think people should think, right? So I like to interject that. So anyway, I was doing these thought-provoking things centered around Black history, culture, current events, and all of that, and growing it. And she was like, man, Freddie, I see what you're doing over there. Now, sis at the time is doing like $60,000 a month on the internet, make money online type stuff, right? Like that's what it was called back then. I wanted to get into that. And I was like, 60 grand a month? Oh, Lord, if I made 60 grand this year, I'd be good. You know what I mean? Like I'm in there like trying to grind and figure it out. And she said, you got some traction, but you need a physical product to sell to them. And like, I was like, I'm in this black space. What people gonna buy, right? So that was 2011. 2016, I'm still grappling with the same thing. Like, what am I gonna do? And I thought back to grad school and I was like, I studied with flashcards. I'm gonna make some flashcards. And like literally that was the thought. I was like, I studied with flashcards. It worked. I got the information. I'm gonna put together some flashcards centered around Black history so people can learn their history and know it. They can teach it to their children. It'd be real simple, make it fun, make it easy, bite-sized bits of information, all of the things that you see, right? And in 2017, we put them out and like it was like boom, right? Like a powder keg. And after we're selling through and all of that stuff, and people are telling me, you need an app, you need an app, you need an app. But I was on the phone with the parents, with the grandma, with the granddaddy, and with the mom and the daddy, and they saying they tired of them children on these damn games.
Yeah, boy.
These screen time. So that's why I bought your flashcards. I love them. This is why I love them. And like, everybody that ain't got no skin in the game is telling me what I need to do with my money, my moment. And I'm like, the people that's making this my money and making this my moment is telling me they want this. They want this low tech option. And yeah, man. So that's like the market told me. I listened.
Yes, sir. As far as the cards go, I know you got some different things happening with the cards. How did you kind of, again, Black history, like you mentioned, is vast. How did you identify the time frames you wanted to select for the cards, and then the people? You made it really more people centered than actual, historical events and things like that. So how did you go about selecting the people that you wanted to have on the cards?
I didn't overthink it. You know what I mean? I thought, what do I like? What do I think is important? What do I think is powerful? That's pretty much the first deck. It's a lot of me getting off who I think we need to be talking about. Which you had to slide some folks in there because everybody getting their feelings, because I didn't want to put Barack Obama in there. I'll tell you, I don't know how controversial you are, brother, but I'll be saying stuff. So. I didn't want to put him in there. You know what I mean? And it wasn't that he's not history, because he is. He's a very important piece of this story. But you know who that is. You know what I mean? Remember, my thesis is we talk about these same 8 to 12 people all the time. Why he got to be in there? I ain't want to put him in there. And I don't even know if you noticed that Volume 1, Martin Luther King ain't in there. Yeah, Nelson Mandela ain't in there.
What made you put these people in there?
The other people?
Yeah, so Barack Obama, he's
Barack the only one that made it. The other two didn't. And it's a lot of people I left out intentionally because I feel like you already know them. But Barack just it's like, man, we're gonna be fighting customer service forever. We be fighting customer service over the fact that MLK ain't in there. So they ain't like that. And then we broke down, and MLK is actually in Volume 3. He's as a bonus card in Volume 3 because they was just breaking customer service, really wanting these people. And the way I saw it, I didn't see it as a slight to these individuals. I saw it as an honor because they talk about you all the time, right? And these individuals, my humble opinion, will want you to expand the conversation because they never wanted it to be about them. It was really about what we were doing. So
I think if you do end up using those individuals, though, you could talk about facts that most people don't know. You know what I mean?
Where was you at 5 years ago, 6 years? You know what I mean? I like that though, but again, focusing on things that you don't really know about them because we don't talk about, the financially conscious MLK, right? The one that was saying, hey, it's time for you to cut the check, right? They got the sanitized version of him. But I'll tell you an interesting story about Volume 2. Volume 2 is all Black women. And literally, my man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I take that to Africa for the first time. We went in 2017. Yeah, 2017 for the first time. We go to Ghana. We go to Ghana, have this experience there. It's he and I, our first time in Africa, right? He tells me, I want to go to Africa. I'm like, me too, bet, let's go. So he's 87. And we fly to Africa. We go to Ghana. We have an experience. It was beautiful. We end up at Kwame Nkrumah's, W.B. Du Bois' home there. W.B. Du Bois retired in Ghana, right, at the request of Kwame Nkrumah. And they turned his house into a historical site, and, a history thing and all of that. And he's buried there. His mausoleum is there. So while in his house, we walk into the living room, right, and, they're opening the tour, and on the wall ain't none but Black women. It's a portrait of him, and every wall is covered with Black women. And I'm like, we in there, we listening, and we viewing, and I'm reading, and I'm like, what? Like, these are incredible stories. So, like, a large percentage of that deck came out of that room. Like, literally, I started taking pictures. I was like, oh, we putting these people in there, right? But if you think about it, this is what Du Bois was doing. He was chronicling Black history, right? Because the room behind me, while I'm looking at these walls, was his library. And you go in there in that library, oh my God, man, this dude had everything. Like, it was amazing. It was amazing. So anyway, that was that. So a lot of it just comes out of my experiences and like a lot of the stuff that I be wanting to talk about. I talk to, mentors and people I know in the space about who do you think might be, for this particular deck. Hey, we're doing before 1492. When we started 35,000 years ago, coming up to 1492. What do you think is important, right? Like off the top of my head, I know like the major stuff, right? But it's starting to get into the minutia. I have to reach out and
I'm gonna have to request a revolt deck maybe the Haitian Revolution in there, you know?
Oh yeah, you know
Yeah.
that's in there. That is definitely included in our stuff. And you got like one of them questions I hope you gotta ask. I'm gonna dive into that because I believe the revolutionaries are important. Like you cannot breathe this out of our future, right? So I like to talk about the Haitian Revolution. I like to talk about what happened with Zumbi's Dos Palomares, right? Like we did not just lay down. I like the Natty of the Maroons, right? I like the Maroons and the Maroon invasion and the fight and the work that they did up and down.
Yes, sir. I got it right behind me, man. I got it right behind me.
All right, I endeared myself.
Yes, sir.
Good. No, but it's real.
Yeah, man.
It's real.
Absolutely. So I was gonna really tackle like I think Black history sometimes, like for Black folks, especially adults, because they sometimes feel ashamed and then it gets overwhelming. Like history is so vast, and now you got to learn it at this older age that it's like really overwhelming to grasp. And sometimes I think it could be overwhelming for kids too. And you know, they say when you're learning something, no matter how much you dive into it and you learn and you're tapped in, 10 years from now, you probably gonna remember like 10 to 15% of it, maybe.
If you're lucky.
So yeah, if you're lucky. So if you had to really tackle that 10 to 15%, like what areas would you really focus on us as in like Black people in general understanding and learning about, you know, Black history?
Impossible question. And like and since you know we started there, like I would start with the Haitian Revolution. I think it's the most important thing that has happened on this part of the planet. And we don't lean into it, we don't talk about it. We ignore it, and like, you know, Black folks act like Haitians is the problem because we don't understand that context. And once you get the context, it opens up everything else. So there's so many stories that need to be discussed that's linked to the Haitian Revolution. So I think if you really, and the revolution, you know, didn't start happening in 1804, right? Like you got to go back. You got to go back in the story, right, and really pick it up. You know, it really helps if you start in the 1600s, 1500s, right? Like, and really start to gather momentum towards that. And then like it's like I said, it's reverberating impact not only there but in the islands and really around the world, right? It changed everything, literally, you know, not even like facetiously. So that's high on my list. And you'll see me actually talking about the Haitian Revolution a lot because it links to a lot. Then I think like to piggyback off of my sister Sada, you know, the invention of mathematics by Black women, I think is like, that's like a paramount conversation because one, our children run from mathematics and act like it's not something of them. But once they understand that this is something that they birthed, it just really puts things in perspective. And I think like pursuing like Kemet and that history, but really leaning into the math, science, engineering, technology angles of it all is very, very important. But rulership, like telling those stories from a kingdom perspective, so that they understand that we govern, we understand that we are capable of governing us, ourselves, and our people. I love the story of, and I'm all over the place. I'm just bouncing trying to get it right, but I got Mary McLeod Bethune right here. Yeah, and I love that's the spirit and her fierce dedication to service. And so all of these are like things that I think we need to instill in ourselves and our next generation. So I like tying events and people to routines, conversations, and actions, I guess. But she turned a lifetime of service into educating tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people over the years with her college, you know, Bethune-Cookman. But her story is so amazing from when she was a little girl and growing up. I think our children can relate to some of the stories that come out of her lifetime. I'm a big Garveyite, so I'm gonna always push Garvey. I'm always self-sufficiency. I'm always gonna push connection with the global African diaspora. So like all of these things are like really close to me and who I am or who I like to see myself as, right? Like let's say that, right?
Yes, sir.
I think another thing that's pretty important, last one, brother. I like to tell the stories of how these African countries got their name, like where they came from, like what's under that. Because all we like to do is talk about slavery. Oh man, they enslaved us, this so blah blah blah. It's like it's a deeper story here, and it's one that really, for me, it just pulls back all the layers, and either you got to look at systemic international racism in its face and wake up, or you just go to sleep and you've identified yourself. Like, we know who you are. That's cool. We just don't worry. Don't wonder why you don't know how we move. Right. Because it just exposes everything, because it exposes the insurance companies. It exposes the banks. It exposes the countries that were involved. It exposes the system that is transpiring under all of this. And it really ain't even a lot of history to gather. But once you gather these things, I think you just see everything different.
Well said. Well said. Well said.
Good luck.
Yeah,
Good luck trying to keep me on the pace and the schedule, brother.
I love. This is, like I said, man. You really don't need me, man. I'm just here. I'm just here to have a good time, man, and listen in. But yeah, man. You know, one of the things that really spoke to me about the work that you're doing is a lot of people want to do work for Black folks, but they always get you ain't gonna make no money, and Black people don't want to invest in other Black people, and we crabs in a barrel bucket or whatever it is, and we keep pulling each other down. We don't support this, we don't do that. So much negativity. By the time you started out optimistic, like, yo, I want to do this, I want to do that, and you talk to people, and it's like, all right, maybe you're right. Let me go chase this bag or do something else where I know I'm gonna make money, whatever it is. But you're living proof that you can make money through this, and other, companies outside the culture can be interested in what you're doing. So talk to us about, how JetBlue and all this stuff came about, and some of your ventures with outside companies, and why they, were focused on you, and just, somebody who's focusing on Black people and Black culture. Why did those things go through, man? Like, because I think a lot of us need to hear that in order to understand the value of some of the work that we think about doing.
So I know you mentioned, you referenced JetBlue, and then we were just in Target, and there's a whole retail option that we could go into as a business owner. Let me say this. They came to us. I didn't do none of that, all of that. They came to us because we were in our space doing our thing. So this whole, you got to be a certain way. Listen, anybody talking to you like that, don't run no company. Because you don't even understand, man. Like, a lot of us are not in business and don't understand how business functions. So it's like, oh, well, if you're doing this, you a sellout, you selling out to the people, this and that and the third. But what is a business really? So yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. Man. Yeah. And I can really I can get into this because I got an MBA, right? I got an MBA from a PWI, and you will graduate, and I went to MBA. Okay, I'm gonna attack some of y'all young folks. So I got my MBA when you had to defend your thoughts in front of your class, in the front of the classroom, when everybody's grade was dependent upon their participation. So you're making a presentation, and everybody is getting graded on basically how they attack you and your thought, or how they support your thought and your idea. That's a different level of stress. I just got to tell you, I'm just being honest with you, because you got to be thorough in your thinking, right? Now, with that said, you can graduate with these degrees behind your name, or these letters and these numbers, or whatever the hell it is behind your name, and you can actually think you know something. You can actually think you qualified to talk, right? But I remind people that entrepreneurs hire folks. Right? They hire people. They don't. None of that stuff matters. Are you are you qualified? Do you understand the implications? Can you follow the ripple of these decisions and how it's going to impact the bottom line? 9 times out of 10, you can't, because particularly with an MBA, because you're going to get trained in corporate America. This small business ain't got nothing to do with that. Right. And you don't know. I can confidently say that because I thought I knew. Let me tell you, I didn't know nothing. Right. But I knew enough to get in front of my audience and give them what they wanted and listen to them and tweak and grow and build, because that's how you build a business. You don't put together an effective marketing campaign and based on the ADA principle or whatever the ADIA, whatever the awareness. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If you're in marketing, right? Yeah, that you probably don't understand the ramifications, but if you captivate an audience and deliver your product where people start raving about you, and it's a small mark, you can't make no money in this business. We done did millions talking to black folks, right? Like with a $20, with a $15 product, really $15 to $20 product, right? We're not selling $3,000 widgets. We're not selling fur coats and Louis bags, right? We're selling flashcards of Black history. But what I've learned about business is math, right? If I got a $50 average order value, how many sales do I need to make in order to make $1 million? All I need is 20,000. It's 45 million Black folks. All I need is 20,000. We can hit $1 million on a $50 AOV, average order value. If I raise the average order value to $100, I only need 10,000 sales, right? Or, vice versa, whatever. So math. And most people ain't got 20,000 customers, right? So you worried about going to get in a bigger pond and you need to talk to everybody. Well, you're cutting off so many people. If you're talking to everybody, you're talking to no one.
Ooh.
Right? And that's business 101. I'm not even talking to Black people. When you see us marketing, I'm not talking to Black folks. I'm talking to Black women 45 to 75. Yeah, really, if you want to get skinny, 55 to about 68, right? I know who our best customer looks like. Now, listen, brother, I appreciate you purchased it, right? And other people,
the algorithm must have thought I was somebody else.
Yeah.
They was.
Well, that's just our ideal. That's our ideal market, and I call her Gladys, right? That's my customer avatar. So when we put stuff together, that's who we're talking to. That doesn't mean that it don't resonate with other folks, but getting to the crux of your matter, Target, crux of your question, Target and JetBlue, they came because we had the eye of our community. And it was positive, you know what I mean? It's uplifting, it's inspiring, and they want to attach their brand to stuff like that. So I don't have to compromise. And moving forward beyond that, I won't compromise. This is why
yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm not in retail. That was like a deal. And people were like, oh, you can go to Walmart. You can. What you don't understand is they're going to make you compromise your message. Because once you get hooked on white money and white money sources, and now listen, people buy, about 15% of our customers are white, by the way. They buy, but they buy because they accept my message that's undiluted. But if I go take that Walmart contract and you doing $5-10 million with Walmart, that's great. But you remember, you originally came for me because my message resonates. But Walmart going to be like, you know what, fam? I need you to tone down that rhetoric on Burkina Faso, right? Burkina Faso throwing out France and like, man, y'all like loving that too much. I need you to dead that a little bit. We got some interest in the area. That's when your morals get compromised because they dangle that check in front of you, right? But most of us just y'all saw, boss. But what I tell my audience is I love them because they allow me to be free. They say, man, I love the way you talk. I love it. So all because you support me directly. And like, that's the relationship we built, but people still want to get in on that. But then when they come in, when Walmart come or whoever come or JetBlue or whatever big Fortune 5, now I'm not dazzled by any of that. I'm dazzled by Gladys trying to figure out what she gonna do for her grandbaby. That's what I'm dazzled by. But when they come with them big checks, they gotta come and act right. Because they know I ain't going. But my people got my back. So, all right, brother. I'll be going, man.
Yo, you're going in the right direction, man. That's why I didn't stop you, man. So I'm not sure if you think that those relationships have been beneficial or not in regards to, having that eye on you with JetBlue and Target and these companies. I don't want you to get too deep into that.
No,
But
I will. Just real quick, I would say it was beneficial to the point that it validated me in the eyes of a lot of Black people. It validated what we were doing. It's like, oh, y'all in Target? Oh, this little thing you doing
this is
it's really a
this
thing. Like, you know what I mean? So to me, that was like the biggest value was it valid in the eyes of some people, right? Like, I mean, the people that get down with us purchasing and was like, man, and y'all got amazing customer service, right? Like, that's very important to me, by the way, like amazing customer service. Because it separates you as a business owner, no matter if you Black or nothing. If you, especially you Black, look, I'm going to say something most of you ain't going to say to y'all. Most of y'all raggedy. You raggedy with your customer service and you don't think like that's important. That's the most important function of your business. You think it's sales. It's not. After you sold something to somebody, how you treat and handle them is the determining factor on if they coming back. And most of y'all taking that money and you happy, you really feel like you got them because you overcharging and you know that your stuff ain't really worth it. So you get in and you like, I got it, killed them, girl. But you ain't got no follow-up, no service, no nothing. And that person will never spend another $1 with you again. And then when their girlfriend about to buy from you, they going to tap them on the shoulder and say, nah, you don't want that.
Man, powerful. Now, you're a pretty unique guy, man. You're involved in a mastermind with some really interesting Black folk making really good money and inspiring each other, which I think is really powerful and interesting. And obviously, we mentioned earlier on the program, you're part of that, 8% of businesses. I didn't even know the amount was so low. Not even Black businesses, but businesses that actually reach that seven figure mark that a lot of businesses don't reach. So what in your view, you've climbed that mountain. What does it take as a business to kind of get there from new business to where you're at now? And what advice would you give to businesses that really want to climb that mountain that probably don't understand, what you've seen along the way in regards to what determines success versus failure?
Number one, you need great mentors, right? Because you think you understand, you don't. You have no idea. And Lord forbid you have success. If you have success, you gotta have mentors because somebody got to keep your feet on the ground and let you know, like, as quickly as that money showed up, it can disappear. And I know a lot of people say, well, where do I find a mentor? And my advice to them is sometimes you got to buy them. We don't invest in ourselves, right? So the mastermind that I'm in, it ain't free. The brother and the sister is a husband and wife duo that run it. Lamar and Ronnie Tyler run TSP. So, Traffic Sales and Profit. There you go. TrafficSalesandProfit.com. If you go there, check them out. I definitely, what they call it, I definitely stand for them, right? I'm a fan of this brother and sister, for real. But I bought the relationship. You know what I mean? I was in a free Facebook group hanging out, and I remember the brother did something. I flew down to meet him. I was like, I want to meet you, brother. Like, I'm seeing it. I'm thinking I'm liking this, but I need to know. They say you got to press the flesh.
You want to know it's real. You want to know it's real.
I want to know it's real. I got there, brother. It was real. You know what I mean? I joined, right? And I've been in for years, right? And I ain't going nowhere. But now I understand you got to invest at the level of your expectations. How much you trying to do? You know what I mean? What you trying to do? What type of impact you trying to have? So sometimes you just got to go cut the check to get in the room. And then while you in the room, you make way more money than you. I got 7-figure collaborations, right? Just from people that I met in that room, right? But I ain't never there if I'm like, it costs how much? Oh, I ain't cutting the girl. Boy, they crazy, right? I'll figure it out. But I didn't have my first mentor until I was like 40, 41, because I was like, I'm smart. I'll figure it out. What would have happened if I'd have did that at 25? You know what I mean? I think about it. But nobody told me the importance of mentoring. So I would say that get in rooms where you ain't the smartest person. And sometimes you got to pay to get in that room. And that's totally fine because everybody that you're admiring is doing just that. Nobody's telling you that. I think that is critical. Number 2, I would say do less. Y'all out here running around talking about multiple streams of income. You're not understanding that people built wealth doing one thing extraordinarily, and then when they had so much money, then they started to create the multiple streams so that they could maintain the absurd amount of wealth that they generated. But that comes from one thing first. Y'all got 7 businesses, 7 streams of income, Freddie. We got to do it. I do this, I do that, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. You know what that does? That's impressive. It makes you tired, but it also makes it difficult for your market to refer you because you have nothing that you own. People are like, oh, you want to talk to Freddie? He's the Black History guy. He's not the Black History guy, this guy, that guy, the plumber, the financier, the tax accountant. Like, it's easy. If you want to refer, he's the Black History guy. Yeah, go check him out. Urban Intellectual. Yeah, Black History. You don't even know the totality of my business, but you know how to spread what we do. But most of us miss that. Oh, Fred, I got to make some more money. And the death of most 7-figure companies is somebody with multiple 6-figure companies. Because if you got $100,000 revenue stream, you ain't, because that's what y'all all about right now, right? Like, oh, he's 60. If you ain't making 6 figures, you know what I mean? 6 figures ain't no money. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that. That ain't no money. And I ain't trying to say, there's a time in my life where I tooth and nail to make 6 figures, right? So it's a good thing, but I know
money was different though. Money was definitely different. Like when our parents were coming up, 6 figures was. 6 figures was.
Bro, 10 years ago, 6 figures was different. Like,
it's different now.
It's different now. But if you got a 6-figure this and a 6-figure that and a 6-figure that, that's $300,000. That's cute. What if you went down to 1 and did $1 million? Because the focus, you only got. And look, I'm not dismissing anybody's $100,000, but
you know what?
business,
on top. I was just about to get there. On top of what you're saying, like making 6 figures in business is completely different because you gotta pay. That's
what I wanted to get at. So we're talking about leveraging ads, and I got a team, and you see me, I'm prepped, and it's because it's people behind the screen, right? That's sending me stuff, sending me messages. They're doing it right now, and all of that, coaching and all of these things. But that take money. You know what I'm saying? And if you're only making 6 figures, you're only making $300,000. You ain't got the cash flow to bring on the team and the people that you need to really go to 7 or 8 figures or beyond. And y'all are and then you're doing 3 different things. That's $300,000 for 3 different things. So this business need marketing, accounting, all of these things. This one, all of these things. It's just dissipated. It's like, what do they call it? When you're, finger separated is one thing, but concentrated is a force. It's the same thing with this.
Yeah. So what you're just saying right now leads me to your Facebook ads and the ads. You had an interview where you said that one year you spent over $700,000 on ads. Now, somebody might be like, yo, this dude is bugging, like $700,000 on, man, I could just pocket that and just invest that back into the, like, why would I spend 700? Again, like a lot of us don't get to the level that you're at now where you have this multiple $1 million company and you got to keep it going, keep it flowing. So can you explain that $700 something thousand that you're spending on ads? Where is that going? Why are you spending so much?
I'm trying to think of a good way to put it. But really, ads is oxygen for your business, and anybody out there that's, I get referrals. You don't make no money. I'm just going to be honest with you. You might be doing fine for what you're doing, but, if you're talking about scaling to 7 and 8 and maybe 9 figures, that referral stuff ain't going to cut it. You're going to have to figure out a real marketing plan to get people in mass and then to have a system that converts them. And it takes money to play, right? Now, with the 700, like over the years, we've done millions in spending, right? Like, so there's a thing here, but that's why people know my brand. That's why people know who we are, right? Like, it's like you can't, listen, this whole dream of going viral, hey, good luck, man. But I don't think, okay, look, real quick, sidebar on that, this dream of going viral, what it takes to go viral is spending so much money on an editing team, a video team, and shots and all of this stuff. Like you're doing the same thing, but with spending money on ads, it's just easier, right? Like I can just take a little post. Let's say I make a post, and I love mixing. Or I was just at a retreat with my mastermind, my collaborative mastermind, and we just had this meeting about running ads concurrently with your organic strategy, right? So putting your organic content out there and then seeing which one gets more attention. Did you hear that? Get more attention than what you typically get. Say you plotting these all in the data, right? You're plotting in your data you typically hear, and then you get one that get attention right here. Now, way up here is viral. You're not viral, right? It's not viral, but it's so much better than your normal stuff. And then starting to test money behind that. And then, because we can make that viral. Like, you got something that's cracking, you can spend money, it can go viral, right? But for the ads, right? Let's pretend you spend $1 and you made $3, and it costs you $1 to make your widget. So you spend $1 in ad, it costs you $1 in a widget, but you made $3. And like let's just pretend all your overhead costs was wrapped up in those first $2. But it made you the third dollar for free and clear profit. Well, how many dollars you spending? You know what I'm saying? How many dollars you spending? I make $1. I spend $1. I make $3, and then that second dollar covers all of my overhead. I'm trying to spend $10 million. Like, what did you try?
You know, see, that makes sense when you put it like that. That makes sense. It makes sense.
That's really what it is, and that's what the disconnect is in ad spend. You think you actually spending the money? Nah, I spent $1. I made $3.
Money you made already, yeah.
Yeah, I took the first $2, I put it back in my pocket. I got another $1, and then I just ran the play until the play ran out, right? Like, but I'm trying to run. If that math go math, and especially if I can turn $1 into 4 or 5, I'm trying to run that boy to 20 million. I don't know what you're trying. I'm trying to spend more than that, right? Like, so that's kind of like where the mentality comes from. I could say so much more about that.
Yes, sir.
I'll try to stop.
Yeah. So just going back into the business component of your stuff, you're also going into schools with the the flashcards and all that stuff. So talk to us about just the different uses that you've been really using urban intellectuals and some of the products and stuff like that, and who's been interested. And I know you mentioned, I'm not gonna let this one slip away, that you have 15% white folks interested in your company. What are they coming for exactly? And what do you think they're getting out of your program?
They are coming for the same thing we coming for. They looking for the truth. They trying to figure it out. But most of them got a different motive. Okay, some of them come because they got 2 little white kids and they just feel like this is important. And they should know the history and culture of everybody on the planet so they can go out and be decent people, right? So I really love those people and admire them for that, right? Because of course it's off the beaten path. Who does that, right? So I love that. But the majority of white folks that we get that purchase, I love them too, because they're doing it out of necessity because they either got a black child. I'm just gonna say it what it is. It's either it's mainly a white woman. She's either a mom or a grandmother, and she got a child that's biracial. The father doesn't care about history and culture and don't think it's important, but they know that baby gotta know his people, and they don't know what to do. They don't know where to turn, where to go. There's no options, and then somehow they found us, and they're like, "Thank you for what you do," because I ain't got a clue, right? I ain't got a clue on where to start, and I just know this is important.
That speaks volumes, man. That speaks volumes.
Yeah, it's funny because we actually talked. Was it last week? Like, we should probably start doing a whole campaign centered around that, right? like really marketing and advertising towards that crowd. Because it's an important crowd, because we end up with mixed black folks that have no identity, no connection to the community, and no love, right? And no love which is really what we're ultimately trying to get to.
Yes, sir.
As far as the schools, it's really like all of our segments. 5 minutes a day keeps the miseducation away. Small doses of information consistently over time has power and impact. And that's what we encourage our white patrons to do, our Black grandmothers, our teachers, our mentors. Like steady doses of information is a thing. And like you talked about with your students, right? Like allowing them to thumb through the deck and find somebody that inspires them, and
Yes,
then
sir.
now to go deeper with the conversation, with the study, with the what did you learn, the presentation. So you can bring out so much beauty in your children just using them. Another couple of examples. One parent said, and I love this, because we got to stop trying to make our children fit into boxes, right? We got to let them express themselves and who they are. And like this one parent said, I allow my children to kind of like what you talked about, like do the presentation about this person that they're going to learn, but they can do it in their passions. So some of them sing, some of them like performance art.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
I like
some of
that.
them in the poetry. So now you just got to.
I'm stealing that. I'm stealing that. I'm
Yeah,
stealing that one.
I mean, it was killer, brother, because our children, they're creative. Like allow them to use that creativity. Yeah, that was those
That's
are
fire.
beautiful things.
That's fire. You just gave me like that gem right there. I'm using that ASAP. Like,
I love it.
Yeah, that's dope, man. I appreciate that. I got to get into the Africa trips. I don't really hear too much about that. I hear little snippets of like, you be taking some people to Africa to bring this history to life. So where in Africa? What's happening in Africa? What are y'all doing? Like, what's going on with that?
A lot of that was born out of, man, it's crazy because the MAsterMine overlaps with this too. But is born out of traveling with my dad. So dad, I make a joke, but it's the truth. Dad's my international travel buddy. He's 95 now, but we started when he was 87. Well, we actually started when he was little. He used to take me on trips, going to Gettysburg, driving to DC, and going down south to see the family and all of that. But we got older and we started going to Africa, right? Like, so that we tried in 2017, we went to Ghana. We had that experience. In 2018, we went to Morocco, but first we stopped off at Spain. So we did southern Morocco. We went through the Alhambra right there in southern Spain, and Granada, which is the last Moorish stronghold in Europe, is at the Alhambra. For those that don't know, the Moors ruled Spain for 800 years, right? 711 AD to 1492. There's a whole lot of history there. So we had that experience for 3 days, jumped the water, went into Morocco. 19, we did some travel. 20, like, we didn't go to Africa, right? So then in 21, really, he told me he wanted to go to Egypt. And I was like, all right, 22, we're going to go to Egypt. And I'm like, all right, but I'm going to do something a little different. And that was our inaugural trip for the Sankofa experiences. So it's me, Dad, and 40 people there in Egypt having our
These are your students? These are your students from the Sankofa Club?
No, these are just people in the Urban Intellectuals community. There were some Sankofa kids there, though, that came from the Sankofa Club. There were some that was there, and some they've been on the trip, but we haven't done like a Sankofa Club trip. You got me now. I might need to do that. But so the concept is, we are a Black History company at our core. That's what we do. So now we added this travel component. So guess what? It's Black History Travel made easy. That's what we're about. So on these trips, we get our tour guide, we got our lecturers, and we go see all of the sites, getting lectures along the way, eating the food, going into the villages and the culture, getting to see the people. In Egypt, we start, of course, in Cairo with the Great Pyramids and the Sphinx and having dinner and all that good stuff. But then we fly into Luxor, which is in the middle of the country, pick up our tour there. Luxor is stunning. Then we take up a cruise ship on the Nile and cruise down the Nile for 3 days down towards Aswan and pick up where the current modern day Nubian culture is today. And like, man, it's a beautiful experience, but we do that across the continent. So right now we take on Egypt, Morocco, Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, and the Gambia. That's if I said Morocco, then I think I got them all.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. I haven't been to Africa yet, but I might have to start with one of your trips, man.
Come
You
on,
know?
good brother. Let me know which one to go. I can make sure I'm there. Yeah. It's
Yes,
a beautiful
sir.
experience, man. It's a beautiful experience. It really is.
Yes, sir. So as we wrap up, man, I want to just get into a quick little activity called "What's Your Favorite?" Just identifying a few of your favorite things. So definitely got to ask you your favorite fact that you learned about Black history.
I love Black women, so I stick with the invention of mathematics is founded by a Black woman. I love that, and I think that is, yeah, we should start our conversation there. Yeah, we're talking like 35, 40,000 years ago. Man, Black women are incredible. So yeah, that's
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Favorite Black history card from one of your decks?
Man. Oh, this is hard, but my sis just passed. Not my sister, but we went to college together. Tamara Holmes.
Really?
She passed.
Wow.
Her funeral was yesterday, brother. And I feel so honored because I had an opportunity to put her on the flashcard and let her know how amazing I thought she was. And man, we at the funeral going through the stuff, and sis is way more spectacular than what I got on this card. Like, let me.
So give us a little bit. Give us a little bit.
Yeah, so she's in aviation. She's from Maywood, Illinois, and she was inspired to go to become a pilot because of the Tuskegee Airmen. So they had like something going on here, and she took a flight with a Tuskegee Airman when she was. I'm gonna make up a number. I'm gonna say 11 or 12, and it changed her life. And sis dedicated her existence to making sure that Black people got an opportunity to get in to become pilots and become get into the aviation field, not just as pilots, but as engineers, as owners of airports. The scope of what she was up to was crazy, man. Like everybody was there yesterday from the White House all the way down to Maywood, her local town. Like the aviation community showed up and showed out. It was unbelievable.
Yes, sir. All right. Let me get your favorite Black business from Black history.
John H. Johnson, Ebony Magazine, man. That might be his whole story. His life is probably like one of the most influential things. And I want to shout out white guys shouldn't have all the fun, right? Reginald F. Lewis.
I still have not read that yet. Everybody tells me about this book, man. I'm like, I gotta get to it, man.
Yeah, and I want to shout him out. You gotta read this book, number one. But I want to shout him out because I'm sorry, take this. I need one more minute, right? In grad school, you remember I mentioned, the white teacher gave me that, Black Wall Street and all of that, right? So another part of that story is in my capstone class, and we're getting ready to graduate with our MBA, and we're doing this deep case study. And we're doing a deep case study on this place called Beatrice Foods, where this guy is going to be the first person to buy $1 billion company. And it's unbelievable. Like we're walking through all the pieces and we're debating all the angles as we go. Remember, I told you that you go up to front, you pitch, they trying to eat you alive in them waters, right? It was fun because, if you come after me, you best believe when you get up there, I'm about to lay into you too, right? So anyway, we go through this. It was absolutely amazing, right? I graduate, got my little thing, got my little something to put on my wall. I ain't never actually used it because I never had a job. But years later, I read white guys shouldn't have all the fun. Reginald F. Lewis was the dude that bought Beatrice Foods, and they didn't mention it and show a picture one time that this was a Black man that we studied all semester long in this MBA's course. And that infuriated me to even like a higher level. But stuff like that is important. That would have been important for me to know while we're going through that. I would have just been, it would have been a different level of involvement. And that's where we get cheated going to the school of others, right? So that's why I commend you on what you're doing, brother, because you're going to
Appreciate you.
your impact way bigger than you think you are. It ain't just X's and O's, you know?
I appreciate that, man. That's that. I'm gonna just for you. I'm gonna read that book, man, because the universe is telling me to read that book.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get to it.
You're gonna be on people afterwards. You're gonna be like, you ain't read it.
I'm getting that. I'm getting that. All right. Speaking of books, outside of that book, of course, give me your favorite book dealing with Black history and your favorite movie dealing with Black history.
Right now, I'm really liking Black Power, The Politics of Liberation by Kwame Ture. And I, coming off the heels of this election, and really the last 4 or 5 elections, I'm gonna be honest with you. Nah, not probably 4 or 5. Maybe the last 3 elections. I felt like this, 3 elections. Kamala, Biden, then Trump, Obama's second term. Yeah. That book, man, I wish every Black home in this country had this book and read it and understood what the brother Kwame Ture is Stokely Carmichael, by the way. I got him on the wall a bit.
Sir, you're giving us some homework. You're giving some homework out right now.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite, right? Particularly in this climate, because all we do is scream blue, and it's like we ain't got no tactics under that. And like he's literally laying it out in this. I think it's and it's a history lesson because he's framing different parts of not only history here but apartheid in South Africa, and he's really showing you a second-class citizen, but you don't act like it, so you don't move like it, and that's why you're not throwing off the chains of even the Democratic Party appropriately.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that. What about movie?
Movie, that's tough. I'm gonna go with a documentary. I'll go with 2. My answer.
I had a feeling you was gonna go with documentary, man, but documentary is that's too easy because you could give us it, but documentary is too easy because the movie's really, I think documentary is designed to be historic. I think, but the movies is tough sometimes to sit through because they're not historically accurate a lot of times. But so that's why I kind of wanted to know what you thought.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because with the movies, it's just that. And then once you break away from it, now I'm like, what is this mess? Like, it kind of blows me. And apparently I'm pretty tough on movies anyway. That's what people tell me. But I got good documentaries for you though, right? One is the typical documentary, right? So my second one, I think I'll get a rise out of you, right? My first one is A Great and Mighty Walk by John Henry Clark. Have you seen this one?
I have probably like in my first few years of like that consciousness where I'm looking at everything. I got to go back through it. I got to go back through it. That
one up because it's usually a good introduction to consciousness. Like you said, it just like that's the one when somebody is like clearly the light bulb then came on and they're looking for guidance.
Yeah, I watched a lot of John Henry Clark in college and like learning about Black history and culture.
Now, the second one I'll give you is the flip of a movie that a lot of people probably recommend, which is Roots, right? Folks tell you, I don't know if they tell you, right? But,
Roots is a
movie that folks like. There's a flip to Roots. Not a flip.
I know what you're about to say.
Goodbye, Uncle Tom.
Goodbye, Uncle Tom.
Goodbye, Uncle Tom, brother. I love it.
Do you know how hard it is to sit through that movie?
It's ugly.
And I'm Haitian too, so like they use Haitians for that movie, man. So it's like I don't know if you know that they use Haitians for a lot of that movie to identify with the slaves or whatever. So
that's a brutal one, man. But I pitch it to my audience because y'all too soft right now. You act like this is sweet. That's what's happening. You don't. No. We need some level. We need to level set this conversation. And so, if I can't get you to Africa, because when you walk in them dungeons, I was just in them dungeons last month, bro. In Ghana, I went on our Ghanaian trip, and every time you go to them dungeons, you ain't the same. So everybody don't have that experience, and I think that movie does a good job.
You know what? you bringing that fire out of me too, because a lot of the times, like people, when it comes to us, like Black history, people like, nah, that's too much. You know, you don't want to do that, show that, like that's too. But every other culture, like, you know, really goes into their wars, goes into their periods of time where people really struggled. Like, you know, the Jewish people got the never again with the Holocaust, and they don't hold back anything with the Holocaust. So it's like, but with us, it's like, nah, this is too much. It's too graphic. It's too this. It's too that. But this is what we really went through. So what is some emotional pain experiencing, some empathy for your ancestors, man? Like, I don't understand that either, man, because people will, you know, but then at the same time in class they're learning about World War One, World War Two, and how many soldiers got killed and you know. So it's, but we
Watching
can
them
sit
blow
through
up
that.
on film and Saving Private Ryan and all of this. But like, look, man, I don't know. I again, we got more challenges, and I give you a charge, man. Don't let nobody off the hook with that, and hold them
Yes, sir.
accountable. And don't let nobody tell you that they can't pronounce our names, right? You pronounce all them German names, all them Polish names, all them Russian names, all them Italian names that you spending overpriced for their bags and Louis Vuitton and all of this nonsense. You can do all of that, but you can't pronounce the tongue of your people. Like, come on, man, because you don't respect them. That's the thing. You don't have a respect for Black and African people, so you won't take the time to learn their names. You cannot tell me that Polish name rolls off your tongue. Get out of here. You can't tell me that Russian name rolls off your tongue. Get out of here. You can't tell me that name out of Dubai, right? You know, we enamored with Dubai now. Don't know nothing about the history, the Eastern slave trade, the Islamic slave trade. You don't want to face facts with that, but you pouring money into all of these people's countries, and they done got all of their riches off the back of your people. Like, oh, I'm fired up here at the end, brother. Get
yes, sir. Yeah. You got me fired up too, man. You got me fired up too. So I know you have an affirmation deck of cards and stuff like that. So I wanted to ask you what your favorite affirmation was.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, oh man, you got to give me. That's probably my favorite deck because it's nice and creative. In that, like, one side is for the child and one side is for the parent or the grandparent to breathe life in one another. These are activities. So I did pull out a particular one. So, like I said, one side is for the child to say something, then the other side is for the parent of a
greatness is in the DNA, and then what was the other one? I belong to a great and majestic people. I like that.
Yeah, so you're dealing with young people and you're helping them breathe life into themselves, and you're confirming it, and you know it's giving you an opportunity to build and grow together, man. I believe in, hey man, better parenting makes better people.
Yes, sir. I agree. All right, last one. Your favorite life gem somebody has given you that really helped you out through your life?
All of them, I was like, oh, I kind of got some of them to say. Greatest life gem.
Yo, that's major part of your life right now, man. You know,
so I give that one while I'm thinking about the life gem. But we heard I forgot this retired executive from Chick-fil-A was talking, and he worked with Kathy Truitt, the founder of Chick-fil-A, and he said Kathy's whole mantra was sell the next chicken. You know, it's like, you know, well, what is this? And we thinking about that. It's like, yeah, let's just sell that next piece of chicken, right? Like, if you just keep selling the next piece of chicken, it's going to work out. And then I guess my other one, really for life, will be what I kind of gave you when your daughter interviewed me, right? And I think it's a parental gem of giving your children ownership in their education, and giving them space to make decisions in it. Not don't get crazy, but if they have ownership, if they understand that it is their responsibility for them to grow, learn, and develop, they'll make better choices. They'll do better things. They'll be more involved, and that enthusiasm and that light that we all look for in our child, it tends to come back. We're dampening it a lot by hovering and suffocating them. They need ownership. They are capable. They are brilliant, and yeah, they are capable and brilliant. And like, one last thought, brother. I always say I believe in the original AI. The original AI is African intelligence, and our baby, our babies are that. That is who they are. Yeah,
that's fire. That's dope. That's dope. Appreciate that. All right, so I feel like 100, 200 years from now, you're gonna have your own Black History flashcard. Freddie Taylor and all that, man. What is going to be the legacy of that flashcard? What's going to be some things that you want that card to say about who you were and the work that you did, man?
It's interesting because, again, the sister Tamara Holmes, right, rest in pieces, they recorded her talking about this, like literally, man, the other day. Like she just died, right? And like she said, she basically talked to, you can't worry about your legacy. That's what you leave for other people to discuss and whatever. But
you giving me a Mike Tyson right now, huh?
Yeah. That's kind of how she did. That's what she said.
Legacy, what's that?
Yeah, and because it really is about putting the work in now, and then that whatever that is takes care of itself. So like, if I was going to say what my legacy would be, I would say that I created hundreds, if not thousands, of people that's worthy of a flashcard, right? Or we inspired those types of people, put them on the path, or their flame was lit because they encountered something we did or somebody that we inspired to carry the mantle forward. I think like that will be a life well lived. One that encouraged others to bring about their greatness and to strive for the Black excellence that you talk about. So I would love to inspire many people that you or your daughter interviews, right? Because you're interviewing the history makers and the change makers. So I would love to be a pipeline. Here we go.
Yeah, we gonna chat, definitely, man. We're gonna talk, man, for sure. I appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. And I know, the company separate from the person. So, urban intellectuals, where do you want it to be when you're no longer, at the forefront and, maybe a family member or somebody else is running the company 200, 300 years from now, where you want urban intellectuals to be?
Obsolete.
Yeah,
job well done. It's no longer needed. The history and the culture is ubiquitous with our people, with the world. Everybody gets it. It's important. We don't need this no more. Let's continue to move and develop and find the next way that we can inspire and help the people. There's always going to be a way. Absolutely.
That's dope. Yeah. That's dope. It's funny because when I'm around entrepreneurs, I'm always getting ideas and stuff like that. So I'm going to give you one thing real quick. First, a card edition that I think is worthy of the pile. Peter J. Westbrook, Olympian fencer, 6-time Olympian fencer, 24 years. I think there's been less than 5, I believe, people that have actually been to the Olympics 6 times.
Wow.
So he's one of those people. First Black man to win a bronze medal in fencing, and many Pan American Games titles, many national titles, and then he started the Peter Westbrook Foundation, which you could look this up. Which before Peter got on the scene, he was one of the few Black professionals that were fencing at that level. And he said, like, yo, I want people that look like me here, too. So he went and trained kids, man, for a cheap price. And fencing is super expensive. He got them equipment. He got them funded, everything, man. And they were going around the world fencing, ranked around the world, became Olympians and medaled and represented and still doing it to this day. Lauren Scruggs, the one that just became gold medalist and silver medalist in the Olympics, is from the Peter Westbrook Foundation. So definitely, I think somebody worthy. And I could definitely connect you with the family so you can get all the information accurate. If you, man, if you want to get him on that card, man.
Yeah. Come on, man. Come on. Don't threaten me with a good connection.
Yes, sir. It's done. It's done. What I was thinking is an Olympic deck in time for the next Olympics.
Ooh, that gives me a lot of time too. That's good.
an Olympic debt. You know, how many of us don't know about some of the Olympians that really paved the way for a lot of these athletes now, and some of the history, you know, of the Olympics and some of the racism that some of these Olympians have dealt with in the past and things like that. So I think that would be a really dope debt.
No, that's hot. Thank you for that. I'm taking a note.
Yes, sir.
That's
yes,
great.
sir. Right in time. You got some time. Olympics just passed, so you got another 3 years.
Oh yeah, we knocked
3 years
that
to
out.
tackle.
We knocked that out. I got that manufacturing thing down now. Yeah, we good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yo, man, definitely. I'm inspired, man. Definitely you being a Black company and keeping it real, keeping it Black, and you know, doing your thing at a high level, man. So I'm definitely inspired as somebody coming up and trying to do some work for our people, man. So definitely appreciate the work that you're doing, man. Definitely an honor to have you on the program and finally put a face to the Black History cards I've been looking at for years.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? So yeah, man, appreciate your time, man.
Yeah.
And we definitely gonna link and connect. But for those that are interested, maybe they haven't seen the ads yet, where can they find your cards? Where can they find the Sankofa Club and all these things that you're doing, man?
Yeah, just mention Urban Intellectuals 3 times into your phone and we'll show up in your feed. But you can definitely go to. I'm only half kidding, right?
You ain't lying at all.
But yeah, you go to urbanintellectuals.com. You can definitely find everything that we're doing. It'll link you to the Sankofa Club. It'll link you to, which is our live Black history classes for children. It'll link you to all of our Sankofa tools, which are flashcards, our games, and all of that. And then you can definitely get to the Sankofa experiences, which is our Black history travel experiences. But I didn't even tell you, brother, we got a Sankofa Circle where we teach live Black history classes to adults. Yeah, we got a Fulbright scholar and a sister that's been teaching Black history in schools and churches and institutions for the last 35 years. Yeah, beautiful thing, man. We putting in work.
That's powerful, man. Definitely got to connect and figure out how we can do this work. Appreciate, again, your time, man. And yeah, man, I think there might be something happening in the future here.
Let's see to it.
Let's see to it, for sure. Yeah. Listeners, support Urban Intellectuals. I just ordered, I think 4 or 5 decks, actually. So we're going to do some work with our MAsterMine University students with Urban Intellectuals. I'll take some pics and maybe hit some recordings and get these kids doing some Black history projects. One thing that motivated me, I'm going to say this real quick. So I got tired of these kids talking about they not learning anything in Black history class. This was like years ago. And so I'm like, all right, cool. Like everybody, you know, let me get one thing from everybody, like that you've learned or you know about Black history. Like, give me one fact. And let's keep it specific. Let's give me a Black male from history, something that you learned. Give me something. I went around, man. These kids knew absolutely nothing. Like no memory, no recollection of anything. You know, maybe one kid mentioned Rosa Parks and it's like she stole the answer. She stole everybody's answer, you know, for Black women. One kid mentioned Martin Luther King and stole everybody's answer and nobody had nothing, man. I was like, you know what? Y'all gonna do some research and everybody gonna give me something new. I'm gonna give y'all to the end of the month and we all gonna learn from each other. You know what I'm saying? But our kids really don't know, man, anything. So a lot of kids walking around with no understanding, no knowledge, and no, you know, even want or need to really learn any of these things, man. So the work that you're doing is definitely something that we need. And adults put it to the test, man. Ask these kids, man. And even the adults, man, they can't tell you nothing, man. Like it's really sad, man. But it's people that we need to, like you're doing with the work with the adults and things like that, to get that information back out there, man. So super important. Listeners, support the work. Get yourself some Black History flashcards in time for Black History Month. And of course, remember, your mind is the most powerful tool in the universe. If you can think it, you can do it. If you believe in it, you can be it. And if you fight for it, you can have it. The world is yours. This has been your host, Mr. G, and I'll see you next time on MAsterMine.
So every day I'm going hard. I'm talking business, bank accounts, and credit cards. And somehow we defeat the odds and making sure that no one starve illegal or you had a job.